We haven't had time to rest. We haven't had time to think and really see the opportunity that is before us. Like we have a real opportunity to recreate, reimagine, rebuild public health into something better than what it was before. So we hosted this summit. We talked about everything from government contracts, how to make money and funding, community driven leadership, health policy in a very fun way.
All right. So, hi, everybody. I'm Dr. Marissa Robinson, and this is the Real Talk, Real Impact podcast, where we center the voices and lived experiences and bold ideas shaping the future of public health. So, let's get into it. Today, I am with my homie, my homegirl, my fellow doctor in the fight, Dr. Joyee Washington, and I just want to share a little bit about her. So Dr. Washington is a community engaged research consultant. In 2020, she founded Joyee Washington Consulting with a mission to revolutionize public health by transforming public health research into life-changing public health solutions. Through her business, Dr. Joyee works with community-based organizations, nonprofits, public health organizations, and academic institutions to help them build meaningful community partnerships, conduct impactful research, and create data-informed solutions. Additionally, Dr. Joyee is the host of the Public Health Joy podcast, but y'all need to go ahead and we'll link it down below so y'all can get into that as well, which is a safe space for real and honest conversations about public health, research, and relationship building processes necessary to bring joy to the communities we serve. So let everyone virtually please welcome Dr. Joyee Washington. Woo!
Hey y'all, glad to be here. Glad to be here.
And for our audience, they don't know that we've been rocking on LinkedIn at first for a while. And then it was like, there's a lot of synergy here. We need to make something happen. So now we are definitely following up on making some stuff happen because we've both been in this place moving and shaking. But I really want our audience to see all of the great things that you've done. So I have a few questions that I want to get into today, and we can definitely go off script because you know how we do. So These are just going to guide us. So my first question for you is, let's start with your story. And how did you end up doing the work that you do today?
Ooh, where do we start? Let me tell you, this journey has been a wild one.
Yeah.
A wild one. But I will start with public health has not always been my dream. And I think that's very similar for a lot of us. We kind of stumbled or fell into public health. How many of us said, we want to go to medical school. We want to be biology pre-med. All right. That's typically where my story started. I was like, hey, I want to be in a doctor. I want to be working in the hospital. I want to be working with patients.
Right.
And then over time, I got introduced to research. And what I realized was I was like, oh, this is my space. Like, this is my thing. Like, I started learning who I am through the process of research. And originally I was in the biomedical sciences. So I was still in that medical field, but I was in the lab. I was with the pipettes and the test tubes and doing
a graduated cylinder and the beakers. Yep.
Doing the thing with that. And what I started realizing was I said, research is important and I love it. But this information that I'm learning is not getting to the communities that I love and the communities that I serve. And how do I get this amazing information to my community? And that's where I started learning about public health and specifically health education. So I completely shifted gears. I said, I'm going to leave the biomedical sciences and I'm going to switch to public health and health education. And that's where I started that process. And even in that, I learned about qualitative research. I learned about community-based research, community-engaged research. And I said, oh, this is how I can really bridge my love of science, my love of research, and my love of community. And that's the short version of how I got to where I am today. So it was a journey. It was a path. And I would have never thought that this is where I would end up today.
And most of us that are in public health or do something related to public health intentionally sometimes don't always have the final destination being public health. But the beauty of it is that any and everything can be public health. So even if we weren't in the public health spaces, right, we could still figure out how could that come back to the public health systems level thinking, or the epidemiology, or the data analyses, or the ways in which we interpret data to then share with the general public. So love that. And I think a lot of folks who are in undergrad and grad school might be having those same questions of like, oh, I don't know the perfect kind of pathway. And there is no perfect pathway, because everyone's path is different. We are all in our own marathon and in our own race. And that is truly important, especially for Black women.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for Black women.
Yep.
So let's go to the next question. So you often talk about community engaged research. So for listeners who may be new to the concept, can you actually explain what does that mean and why it's so important to public health today?
Yeah, absolutely. And let's be clear, community engaged research is still kind of new. It's still kind of fresh on the scene, right?
Period. Mm-hmm.
And public health has, while we typically hear about research, traditional research all the time, and typically when you're thinking about research, you're thinking about the surveys, right? You might think about focus groups, you might think about those types of things, but typically in public health research, it has been very extractive. It has been very harmful. We hear things all the time about like the Tuskegee syphilis experiment, the Henrietta Lacks story. We hear all the time about how our communities have been harmed by research, and that results in a lack of trust, right, in the public health system. And so what I love about community engaged research is it totally turns what we've been taught on its head. And we can now look at research as a process to do with our community. Typically, traditional research is done on communities, right? But what does it look like to do research with communities? With like those little words matter. I tell people all the time, prepositions matter. Go back to 8th grade English class. Okay. Prepositions matter. Okay. So we want to make sure that we're doing research with the community, because research is important. And a lot of times in our communities, research is a dirty word. Like nobody wants to talk about research. Nobody wants to deal with it because
nobody wants to do it.
Nobody wants to do it because it takes up time, it takes up energy, it takes up resources, and ain't nobody got time for all that. And not to mention the harm. Right. But when we start doing research from a different place and share that power with communities, it can make a world of difference. Research itself is not bad, but it's the approach to the research that we have typically been taught. And there is a different way to do it. We don't have to do research in the way that patriarchy and white supremacy, ways teach us that this is how you do the thing, right? We do have the power to do it differently. And that's why I love community engaged research so much, because it positions the community to own their power. And just to be clear, they've always had the power. Our communities have always had the power, but the systems have often suppressed that power. So what community engaged research does is it lifts the veil, right? And it gives us this environment to say, we're going to share this power. We're going to do it together, and we're going to create systems where our community members lead every aspect of the research process. And that's a totally different aspect to public health than what we typically hear or do.
Yep, exactly. And let's also just underscore that Black women have come up with different research frameworks. We have so many different Black women scholars who have really changed the game and how we even address and even describe, because again, words and language matters. So when thinking about things like intersectionality, when thinking about the social determinants of health, when thinking about community-based participatory research, these are things that have been centered with community in mind and persons of lived experience at the center of what we're talking about. And so when we're coming into these scholarly conversations, I think very early on, we weren't in those rooms, right? And so that also changed the game of what the landscape looked like and what got funded, what didn't. And so now to be able to see so many opportunities that weren't there before, somebody had to blaze a trail. And we're still having firsts in 2026. And that is not going to stop. In fact, we need to have more firsts so that we can continue to, pass the baton to the younger generations and figuring out what are those frameworks that are needed to adapt to the times that we're currently dealing with. And what does, I don't love this word, but I'm going to use it here, the term resilience. I have a really hard time utilizing the word because we've had to be resilient, and sometimes it gaslights the trauma and the harm of the communities that you're describing as resilient, and it doesn't really address the systemic oppression that caused those populations or individuals to be resilient in the first place. But I say all that to say, historically, as a people, we've had to overcome so much. And now I think we're seeing even more things that we're having to overcome or address, and it's being suppressed, or we're not able to express ourselves, or we're having to dial things back, which are really important and near and dear to, our hearts, but maybe the funders don't feel the same, right? And so we have to, at the end of the day, those research dollars and our protocols matter, and the people at the center of the research matter. But if the funding gets stripped, you do have to change the nomenclature, but the mission and the goals can still be centering those that we care about. So I love that. Can you talk a little bit about your consulting firm and how you help organizations build community partnerships and what inspires you to start your own firm? Because we got that in common, girl.
Let me tell you, feel like entrepreneurship was not a choice, so to speak, for me. Much like public health, it was something I fell into. Brief story, I proposed for my dissertation the first week of March 2020. If you ever been in a PhD program, if you remember what the first week of March 2020 was like.
Just a global pandemic. No big deal.
Right. I was in front of my committee in person, doing the thing, successfully proposed my dissertation. I was like, we about to rock and roll. Like, let's go. Then the pandemic. I was stalled for I was stalled for a year. I was stalled for a year and a half, I believe, on my dissertation because of the pandemic. And so while I had this kind of downtime, I was like, you know what? I don't know if I like the way higher education acting like right now. I don't know if I like what they doing right now. And my dream at that point was, I'm going to be a faculty member. I'm going to be a professor. I'm going to be in the classroom. I'm going to be doing research. Yeah, I was like, after the pandemic or during the pandemic, I was like, nah, bruh. y'all can have that.
Y'all can have it.
I'm not doing it. So I was like, well, what am I going to do now? And I, you know what? I got time on my hands. I'm about to start a business. Right.
There you go.
And I said, I can leverage more of my skills. Nobody know my skills better than I do.
Better than you, right?
So why am I trusting academia to leverage my skills when I know I can leverage my skills better than they can?
Better than they can.
So let me figure out how I can use my community engagement skills, my research skills, my public health skills. At that point, I'm a doctoral candidate, working on my PhD in education. And my emphasis area was research, evaluation, statistics, and assessment. So I've got all of these different areas covered. I know about community-based participatory research, and I'm just really trying to figure out what is it that I want to do. But it didn't come at that moment. And I tell people all, because I want people to understand. I know people see me on LinkedIn and they're like, oh, Dr. Joyee got it going on. Dr. Joyee got all this stuff.
And do.
Yeah. Baby, it didn't start right there. It didn't start there.
Mm-hmm.
It did not. And
Right.
I started tutoring students in statistics. That's how I started my business. Tutoring students in statistics for $20 an hour.
See?
That's where I started. And I learned I don't want to do that. I learned real quick. I don't want to do that.
But that's a part of the process, right? To learn what you don't want to do as you grow and you pivot.
It is. It is. It absolutely
Mm-hmm.
is. And the more I started evolving, the more I started figuring out, I was like, I really want to do this community engaged research thing with organizations, but I don't know how to reach out to the organizations. I don't know how
Yeah.
to find who they are. I don't know how to
What they need.
they need. I don't know how to craft a service or an offering. Like I never took a business class.
Right.
I'm up here trying to run a whole business and I've never taken a business class. So it's a process. So I had to start where I was at that time. So as I continue to grow and evolve, now, nearly 6 years later, now I'm at the point where I work directly with nonprofit organizations, public health organizations, even government based organizations to support them in successfully implementing their community engagement strategies for both research and practice, in addition to supporting them with their executive leadership and organizational development as well. Because now what I have learned in this process is not only do I love research, not only do I love public health, not only do I love all things data, but I love business. Like, I did not know that about myself,
Wow.
but I love business. And now I get to intersect entrepreneurship and public health and community engaged research. I get to do all the things that I want to do, and I get to support organizations in a different kind of way from a different lens. And another big piece of my work and my brand and the story that I tell all the time is I want the impact of the communities that I serve. I want them to experience joy. Like, I want
Mm-hmm.
them to experience the joy that they deserve. And there are so
Yeah.
many times, really all the time, in public health, in research, we don't associate words like love, healing, joy. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we don't associate those words with research. They too fluffy. They too soft. They not black and white. They not
Mm.
objective. They not,
Right.
you can't measure it. Blah, blah,
Right.
blah. Right? Like, get over yourself.
Right. That
Like,
part. Please.
but that's what we need. That's what we're missing. We're missing
Mm.
that human element, that piece that connects us all. And so I really feel like in my work through community engagement, through supporting these organizations with their research, their evaluation, their organizational development, leadership development, like, what kind of leader do you want your organization to have? What kind of leaders are you building right now? Because I don't know if y'all noticed, but in public health, we're gonna need some different type of leaders.
Yeah.
We
That's putting
gonna
it so mildly.
so mildly, like, we need some. I'm gonna say something I probably don't usually talk like this, but we need some leaders with some balls. Like,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
bold. They got some balls. That's got a backbone. They're
Mm-hmm.
gonna
That's
stand up.
okay to be wrong and doesn't and cares more about impact and change for the common good of the public versus personal gain. Yeah. Yep.
That part.
Yep.
That part.
Yep.
So that's where I have been moving to. It's been an evolution, and I've been moving toward that in supporting organizations. And it's so funny. It's so funny when you get into entrepreneurship and you really start working with these businesses and organizations, and you're like, these folk don't know what they doing. They, they don't.
They are winging it. They are truthfully winging it. Child. Yep. Yep. Yep.
They don't have a clue.
No. But that's why your consulting firm is there to help give them a clue and a map, if you will,
It is.
on how
Uh-huh.
to make things shake.
We
and
like
how to
Blues.
make sense of the problems that they have.
Yeah, we like Blues Clues up in this mud. Gonna give you a clue and a map.
Right. And a map. And we found another clue. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Okay. So in thinking about your experience with your firm, and I know we're going to talk a little bit more about your podcast that you have. So can you share with our audience, for those who are maybe thinking about entrepreneurship and also thinking about what ways can they learn from the experience of others, can you share some of the common mistakes organizations make when trying to engage communities maybe in research, or how can they do better, especially thinking about this current environment?
So many mistakes. We don't even have time.
And
So many pitfalls. So
yeah,
many things that have gone wrong. But I would say
yeah.
one of the major things that I would say first and foremost is in public health. One of the things that I see the most is there has been no internal reflection.
Mhm. Can you tell me more?
People have been out here doing work with communities and they are not even healed themselves.
Wow.
They have not been doing the internal work to understand their own trauma,
Mm-hmm.
to understand their own barriers, their own obstacles, their own pride, their own ego.
Mm-hmm.
Like those are some of the things that I see the most. And what irritates me,
Oh, tell him, girl. Tell him.
ooh, this one be tap, 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 dancing on that last nerve, especially in academia.
Oh.
When these academic faculty members get
Mm-hmm.
these grants
Okay.
to do community engaged research and they ain't never did a lick of community engaged research in their life.
Well, well, well.
I'm gonna call you out.
Well, well, well.
Y'all leading these projects,
Mm-hmm.
these grants, y'all
Speak on it
getting the money to put on your resume, on your CV rather,
on your CV. Right, 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 right.
and you ain't did a lick of anything. You ain't built a relationship.
No rapport.
No rapport, no trust,
No, none of that.
no nothing. And then you sitting up here wondering, why isn't this working? Why didn't they come to my meeting?
It was free. I had food.
Why didn't they respond to my email? Why did they drop out of the program? Because you ain't come with the money, because you ain't come with the resources, because you didn't build the trust.
You didn't think about the trusted messengers in the community. You didn't run this by a community advisory board. You didn't, like, there's things. There's plenty of examples. And if you don't have somebody that's personal lived experience at the center of what you're even building before you even get to what you're trying to give to the community, where is the uptake? You're not going to have any.
And I'm not gonna lie, and I'm gonna say this to the funders now. I was talking to the academic professors, now I'm talking to the funders.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I wish funders would do, and I hope we get to this point. I wanted to get to a point where funders don't even give the money to the academic institutions.
Mm-hmm. Give it
I
straight to
want
the
to see the
community.
money go straight to the community-based organizations, and the community-based organizations decide how they want to partner with the academic
Wow.
institutions, and the community-based organizations get to set the system for how we gonna pay the academic institution.
Well,
Can we turn these tables?
can we? Let's turn them over.
Can we share this power?
Can we? Because
Because that,
one thing you said at the beginning, we cannot continue to do what we've been doing, because if we think we're going to do what we've been doing and get different results, that is the definition of insanity. Doing the same thing over and over and over again and expecting different results. No, we have to change the recipe. We have to change our mindsets. We have to listen to those at the center of what we are trying to improve, that are closest to some of these problems, to some of these marginalizations, to some of these inequities. And then we will start to see the shifts.
Mm-hmm.
Truthfully. And even if we're thinking from big picture, not just from the funder's standpoint or the lived experience, but the socio-ecological model, if we want to see the systems levels change, we have to start in reverse from the individual up, starting with inversing that and saying, hey, communities, yeah, y'all know what you need. Y'all tell us what we need to do and how we need to do it. Then we can come in with the technical assistant, with the capacity building, with all of the tools to get you to maybe some of the research academic institutions, which can then, have the data for the policy to move, which we know is a whole nother merry-go-round and round robin that we don't have to dive into today, but it's another food for thought for folks.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that's why I want to see that as the norm, not the exception. Like I want to see like unrestricted funds for community-based organizations should be the norm.
Yeah.
All right. Like them getting the grant and choosing their academic partner and being able to say to the academic partner, look, you ain't about to come up in here and mess up what we have done.
Right.
Like right. I want it to be normal. I want academic institute, the faculty members or professors, whatever at the academic institutions to know what they walking into when they approach communities. And I want the community organizations to be prepared to be like, look, we stand in guard and we ready to defend what's ours.
What's ours?
That's the energy. And you already know I got Nook if you book in my mind. Like, be ready to throw some blows. Like,
hello,
what is going on? Because we've already seen the harm. We've already seen the trauma. We've already seen this thing crumble to the ground because of the way we've been doing it. We've already seen that it doesn't work, clearly. Mm-hmm. So why are we so afraid to try something different? Because baby, we ain't got nothing to lose. We ain't got not a doggone thing to lose right now.
Right.
So we need to go ahead and push it. Do it different.
Yeah. And I love that we are, starting the series with this conversation of entrepreneurship, but also really thinking about pivoting is okay, right? Mm-hmm. Talking about knowing your journey when you start. Sometimes you take a different path and that's okay too. And knowing that we can learn from our mistakes. We don't necessarily need to reinvent the wheel, but there have been so many trailblazers that have gotten us to where we are today. And it would be a disservice to the blood, the sweat, the tears, the lives that have been lost to not do the best that we can with what we have now. Because some of our ancestors, we are living some of their wildest dreams, even in current times, even given, what we're currently dealing with. I just read the other day, I love looking at inspirational quotes. And one thing that I talked about today was that smiling, like your brain, when someone smiles at you, you mirror the activity. And it can change someone's trajectory of their entire day. If they see somebody smiling at them, like they could have been having a really bad day. You don't know what you're doing on this earth that could make a difference in somebody else's life. So why not continue to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward as researchers, as public health practitioners, and making sure we are causing more good than harm to the communities that we serve. And I'd love to really segue into talking about your podcast and some of the work that you do on the Public Health Joy podcast. So can you tell our audience about what inspired you to start the podcast and also talk a little bit about the summit that you just hosted?
Yes, absolutely. First of all, the podcast was an accident. I want to be clear. I did not have a dream. I didn't have a dream to start a podcast. And
listen, some people do. Some people just fall into it.
It was an accident. It was a whole accident. Had no intention to start a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Short story is I was doing something on Twitter Spaces. It failed to record one day, and I was like, okay, how can I record this? And I had my phone next to the computer, and I was trying to record the conversation, and then I got done with it, and I was like, how am I gonna get this out to people? Because at that time on Twitter Spaces, you could the recording was going to be on Twitter for 30 days. And I was like, how am I gonna
Okay.
get this out to people? And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, oh, a podcast. I could create a podcast. And so I called my brother. He had a podcast at the time. I was like, how do I create a podcast? And he's like, oh, you just make a title and create some cover art and upload it to the thing and hit publish and you done. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sounds easy enough.
Sounds it.
No, no, it is not that easy, actually.
No.
But I figured it out, and in 24 hours, I had a podcast. And
Look at
that's how the
that.
podcast was born. So it really just it really just started with having conversations like this about public health, about careers, about health equity. And then once I finished that kind of Twitter Spaces series, I said, "Oh, well, now I put this thing out on the podcast. I guess I got to have a podcast now. So now I got to
Yeah.
figure out what to do with this thing." So ever
Mm-hmm.
since then, I just said, "Okay, I want to have real conversations. I
Yeah.
want." To have the space where we're talking about the things that we will be talking on the couch with our friends, with our colleagues, just hanging out. Like, what's the stuff that we talking about behind closed doors? What are the
Right.
honest conversations that we're having, and what does it look like? And each season, we are now on season 5 of the podcast.
Oh, come on, season 5.
Yes.
Come on, season 5. Yes.
Yeah, so season 5 of the podcast, and every season is a little bit different. It evolves a
Mm-hmm.
little bit more,
Yeah.
and now we're moving into the space. And speaking of the summit, in 2024, on the heels of the election, when everybody was all doom and gloom, I was like, you know what? We need a summit. We need a place to gather. We need something to liven us up where we can connect, where we can build together. We need a safe space just for us. And
Yes.
so, building off of that energy of the podcast, I said, okay, I'm going to create this summit. Created a summit in 8 weeks. That was it.
My.
8 weeks to gather public health professionals together and say, okay, how are we going to brace for 2025 together? Like at that time, y'all know who had not gotten in office quite yet. We were still waiting on the inauguration and things like that. And so I said, in this waiting time, how can we brace for whatever is coming together? And little did I know what was really coming down that
Yeah.
pipeline, and how much we needed that summit, how much we needed community, how much we needed to build each other up. And
Yeah.
so now we have done the summit for a second time. We did it again, and so we did the summit in 2025 the first time, and then 2026 this time. And really, what we have been focusing on is how are we going to move forward in public health, and
Yeah.
what does it look like to do public health from a place of rest? Because we tired. Let's be honest. We are exhausted. We
Exhausted.
tired. We don't have enough energy to fight, right? So what does it mean to actually take a step back and
Mm.
rest? What does it look like to reimagine public health from a different place? And then what does it look
Yep.
like to rebuild
Mm.
public health?
Yep.
Because one thing about all of this that has happened in public health over the past couple of years is that while we have watched the infrastructure burn to the ground, it is a beautiful opportunity to rebuild something better.
Rebuild.
And a
Absolutely.
lot of us are not in that mindset because we've been punched in the throat so much over and over.
Oh, what an analogy. Because, yeah.
That's what it is. They've been punching us in the throat over and over and
Right.
over again. And we haven't had time to breathe. We haven't had time to rest.
Yeah.
We haven't had time to think and really see the opportunity that is before us. Like we have a real opportunity to recreate, reimagine, rebuild public health into something better than what it was before.
Right.
So
Right.
we hosted this summit. We talked about everything from government contracts, how to make money and funding, community driven leadership, health policy in a very fun way. We actually did a Uno version of health policy because we don't like to keep it boring.
No.
We like to keep the energy. So we're talking about all these things, and we are doing the work together. Like
Right.
public health is being rebuilt right now.
Right
We are
now.
not waiting for permission for anybody to tell us anything. We're doing it our way. We are the future leaders. Like, well, not future leaders. We are the leaders right
We
now.
are the leaders.
We are the
Right.
leaders right now, and we have to prepare the future leaders for what is to come. So we
Yeah.
are still offering, although the live summit has passed, we are still offering the summit replay as well. So if you want access to our summit replay as well as our public health joy online community where we are building and learning together even after the summit, you can visit www.joyeewashington.com/summit, and you can get access to our replay and our online community.
Thank you for sharing that. And I wanted to wrap up because this has been such a juicy conversation. We might have to have you back for a part two because I feel like we're only scratching the surface of entrepreneurship, really talking about the highlights. But there are a lot of lows. There is a lot of loneliness. There is a lot of imposter syndrome. There's a lot of naysayers and there's a lot of haters. And there's a lot of imitators and duplicators and all the aiders, right? But
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, being a person that is grounded and with a mission and a goal and being close to the work, it's not about the notoriety, it's not about the likes, it's not about, the popularity. It's more so about, is the community being uplifted and is my goal being achieved through these connections and through uplifting others and passing the baton and all the things. So thank you for sharing, something that is near and dear to you and that you stumbled into, but you're doing a beautiful job. And I know for myself, you are one of the people who has inspired me to not only do a podcast, but to also even to get into consulting. Because when we met, I was in a completely different employment situation. And so now to see like what life really is like when you can use your gifts and your blessings to bless others, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. And when you're your own boss, I don't mind that either.
Mm-hmm.
But last but certainly not least, I want to just ask you, where does public health show up in your work, even behind the scenes?
I would say public health shows up everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Everywhere in my life. Like I cannot do anything. I cannot participate in anything without thinking about the public health angle to it. I even tell people, I'm like, look, I'm not gonna say I wish. I need to create a game show that's like where
Yes,
people give me something and I give them the public health angle to it. Like,
that is going to be lit.
because everything is about public health.
Right.
And there are so many things that we don't even think about, right? Down to when you cook your dinner every day, the way that you spend time with your family or with your children, where you live. We talk about zip codes all the time.
Yep.
Public health is always a part of what I do, and public health is my calling,
Mm-hmm.
it's my mission. I'm on assignment,
Mm.
and I'm not I'm not gonna be done till I'm done. Y'all gonna have to get tired of me.
Yeah.
Like public health is at this point is part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all of me,
Right.
but it's part of who I am. It is integral to my nature and how I show up in this world because it is a method for me answering my calling.
Yeah.
And that is so important when we are talking about our lives in general. Like all of us are here for a purpose.
Right.
All of us are here for a reason. And for me, public health is a very big part of that. And I don't know, I know it's cliche. People say if I could just change one life, right? If I could just affect one person, right?
One. That's all we need.
That's all it takes. But I don't know how many people have heard my voice. I don't know how many people have come across a social media post that I
Yeah.
put on LinkedIn. I don't know how many people have just crossed my path. And if I had not taken the first step, there may have been that one person that wouldn't have gotten what they needed
What they needed.
because I
Exactly.
didn't do what I was supposed to do to answer my calling, to do
Yep.
my assignment.
To do your
So
assignment.
that's how public health shows up in my work. Anytime I do something, it's because I'm on assignment, I'm on a mission, and there is something to be done, and I'm not gonna stop till my mission is completed.
I love that. So tell the people how they can find you, and if you have anything to promote that you're working on, go ahead and share it with our audience.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want to get in touch with me, best place is LinkedIn. I know the social media streets are popping, but LinkedIn is where it's at. It's my favorite social media platforms. I'm very active over there. You can definitely feel free to send me a connection request. You can also send an email to hello@joyeewashington.com. If you are a public health leader, community leader, builder, if you're interested in developing your leadership, and you want to know how to rest right now, how to reimagine and rebuild public health, you can get access to our summit replay and our online community where you have access to me and my network as well. So that's www.joyeewashington.com/summit. And also, if you are an organization who is looking for support for your organizational development, for your community engagement strategy, research evaluation, you can also send me an email at hello@joyeewashington.com.
All right, y'all. So she gave you all of the handles, all of the websites. We already put them on the screen, but please, this is for not only you that are listening in, but for also those who are watching. Please make sure you reach out to our guests because they are truly rock stars and they are truly using their boots on the ground, not just with the fans and the song, but also truthfully working in community for community. And I'm so appreciative of you, Dr. Joyee, for coming on the show. And this has been a wonderful conversation, not only just about public health entrepreneurship, but also about pivoting, about how can we be better in resting, in being intentional, and about showing up. So thank you all for being a part of this conversation of Real Talk, Real Impact. Keep showing up, keep asking questions, and keep pushing to be better. Until next time, see you guys.